Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Enjoying Orange Slices. This week, Ian comes to my house. We spend Thanksgiving together. We go to a hockey game. We have a good time. We also talk about our dogs, and there were a lot of them around this weekend. Last thing, I talk about some goalkeepers at the end, and a little shout out to all them. I know one guy that thinks he's a goalie is going to be mad. Cam Miller didn't bring his name up, so I'm bringing it up now. Cam Miller. Enjoy.
Hello, Jeff Sharples. It's Ian Bagg, your old friend from Las Vegas.
That's right. I haven't seen you in about 48 hours, Lord Bagg, but we're going to do a home and home this week. You came and saw me, and then I'm going to come and see you. I guess we're supposed to talk about hockey, but I didn't even think about asking you this. Where are you? You're not in LA this weekend, are you? Coming up?
Dallas this weekend. I'm in Dallas for 2 nights, 4 shows, and then back home. And then you come in on Sunday, don't you?
Oh, I guess that's right. I thought I was going to be there before then. So, yeah, we'll do the home and home, and we'll get the dogs out, and away we'll go. Maybe we'll go ride bikes this week.
Oh, my goodness. That'll be good. The 2 boys riding around Long Beach on their bikes. Oh, my God. Now we could put Henry in a basket. Dr. Wong with his Wong hanging out, driving around. Thanks for having us for Thanksgiving. It was a really fun time. We had a great time. The best part of the whole weekend is when I went and did a show, and then I came back to the house at 3 a.m, and somebody else had snuck in the meantime, and it turned the alarm on. And I came in the house, and all of a sudden I heard beeping. I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna wake the whole neighborhood. And then you come flying down the stairs and start yelling numbers, and I'm like, holy crap.
Well, yeah, I heard the beeping, and I'm like, okay. And then I was like, I go to the stairs. I'm like, Ian. I'm whispering the numbers.
Like, you were whispering. I'm like, what?
half asleep, whispering numbers to Ian. All I can hear is, what? I can't. So that was, and we can talk about that show real quick before we get into the big show here. So
I forgot you were whispering, and I was like, what? Come on, man. This alarm's about to go off. Give me the numbers.
That's right. Oh my goodness. Whispering away. I'm not sure why he's whispering, because that thing was like a truck horn. Yeah. It was going on. It's like
you did your best impression of your mom ever.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Tell the story and just fade away. But I
couldn't even clue in when you said that before. I was like, oh yeah.
That's right. I'm whispering numbers to Lord Bagg at 3 a.m, and they're not working because they're not getting to him.
They're not getting to him. And he's trying to be quiet because he wants to wake nobody up, except for the alarm's going to wake up 3 blocks away. So.
That's right. And it's a truck horn combined with a train horn. And the beeping was somewhere in between, but we got it done. And we'll talk about this really quick because you were coming in to do the big show at the South Point.
The South Point.
The South Point. Yeah, what's that? 12:30.
Yeah. By the way, can I give everybody a hint? If the title of something is at 12:30, chances are the show's going to be at 12:30, not 10 like I thought it was at.
Yeah. Well, I was going to go with you, right? I was like, yeah. But then all of a sudden we were sitting there falling further into the couch, not together, but we were close. And I was like, yeah, I can do 10:30, no problem. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's 12:30. I'm like, you're doing this red eye on your own. See you later.
You were like, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. Yeah. And we had a house full of dogs. We brought 3 dogs along. You had the Morton's dog there, Easton, as well as your 2 dogs. And if anybody had walked by, they should have called the authorities because there was way too many dogs in one house.
Yeah, we had 6 dogs. And actually, the first 20 minutes when Ian, Lord Bagg, and the lovely cab came in, was a little bit up on 2 wheels as the dogs kind of got to know each other a little bit, but it progressively got better. And it was good. The dogs ended up doing really well. We had a good weekend. We saw a hockey game, which maybe Lord Bagg, let's talk about it.
let's discuss that game. The first part of that game that we have to bring up is that at that game, and we didn't know until afterwards when we seen it online, a lady got into a fight in the upper bowl and took off her fake leg and started beating somebody with it. So for that, and this is a 4 p.m. game. It was a 4 p.m. game, and people were gunned. They were just like, oh, they were going for it. And I've discussed this before. The reason hockey games don't have everybody out barbecuing out front because there's like 40 home games, so you can't, nobody's got that much time to go pregame before in the parking lot and get that gun. So people are drunk at the hockey games usually, but they were hammered at that game.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that until you brought that up. People are all lit up. So we parked over by the MGM, walked across the street for people who know the area. So we parked over by the MGM, walked across the bridge there into the New York, and then out into the plaza. And if you haven't come to Vegas for a game, there's lots of places to go have a beverage and have something to eat. But what I didn't even put together is people were hammered it was like 3:30 in the afternoon. And then by the time the game was over, you're walking out of a hockey game normally thinking it's 10:30 at night. No, it was 6:30, 7 o'clock.
It was 7.
And people are stumbling through the casino in their Vegas Golden Knights and all their jerseys.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny, actually. And I saw one guy down there in the Calgary Flames jersey. He was repping it. So
I love that.
It was great. But yeah, and then we didn't even know about the lady getting sour in the stands. And she'd had enough of whatever someone had to say to her. So she took off her leg and started beating them with it.
Yeah.
And Vegas is usually a really raucous crowd, but not a rowdy crowd. And we kind of
it had an Alberta vibe to it. That's what was going on. It was like Alberta was coming down, and they were like, "We're getting hammered. We don't give a shit. Get my tight jeans and my cowboy hat. We're going." So, yeah, good times.
Well, most of the time, it's kind of funny when you come down from up north. Most of the time, you'll see the Calgary and Edmonton fans, at least a bunch of them, in their jerseys, their khaki shorts, and their flip flops, and you see that with the Canadian teams, especially Calgary and Edmonton, once in a while with Winnipeg. But you see these guys rolling in where it's much colder up north, and this is like summer down here, so it's pretty funny. But you see it all the time: shorts and flip flops at T-Mobile when one of the teams from Alberta is in, and once in a while when a Winnipeg comes in. But I'm like, everyone else is down there. Down here, you live in the desert, you're soft, so everyone's all bundled up, talking about how cold it is in the rink.
everybody's putting on their seat warmers. Yeah. I will say this: Vegas is, they've got their fans they love their team, but they're pretty gracious to the opposing team's fans. They let them come in there and have a great time. They don't get too fired up. So,
well, I think that the big thing about people that they have to remember about Vegas, and one of the things that makes Vegas so great is obviously you can do anything, but for you to be able to go out and do anything at any hour, at any time of the day, someone has to be there to help facilitate it, right? And that's what, I think one of the reasons the crowd's so loud is because you have all these people work in the service industry, and people that work in the service industry help drive our countries, our economies, because they're such good people. They work really hard. So people that when they get their time off in Vegas, go down to T-Mobile and they like to let loose. But they're still, we're still happy to see people come to our town and spend their money and have a good time. And it's been a pretty good ride for the first 4+ years for the Vegas Golden Knights. But you're right. You don't see fights other than what we saw after the fact in the stands. Very rarely in Vegas. It's a great place to come. And we don't want people coming down here thinking that, they're going to be getting in a scrap going to a game. You just want them to come down, have a good time, let loose like everybody does in Vegas.
Come down, have a good time, smile, laugh, and get drunk.
Yeah. I feel like I just represented the Chamber of Commerce there for about 30 seconds. So,
for you.
You know what? We maybe do my next show in front of the Vegas sign. Welcome to Vegas. So
let them know. Here's what's going to happen while you're here. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about the game. The game was it was a great game. It was back and forth and going. Didn't turn out the way Vegas wanted it, of course. Koskinen played maybe his best game ever of all times. I was saying, hey, maybe they don't need to trade for a goalie, and you're like, shut up, he sucks. Yeah, like every clock rings 12 twice a day. I was like, oh, well, okay, but he was amazing.
Yeah.
It's going, and then remember in the third period, he took off his helmet and he turned out to be 60, and everybody in our everybody in our section kind of gasped.
Yeah. Yeah, they were shocked, but I will give Koskinen credit. It's the best game I've ever seen him play. I'll just a couple things on Edmonton's team. First of all, if they get that kind of goaltending from Koskinen, they don't need another goalie. Or I assume they'll be looking. We'll see what Mike Smith does when he comes back, their other guy. But if Koskinen plays like that, Edmonton looks really good. Plus, the nice thing about Edmonton, even though they didn't have a couple of their big players, Nurse and Keith on the back end, one of the things I really noticed about Edmonton was the depth they have and speed at forward. Kenny Holland, my old friend from Detroit, who's the GM there now, has done a really nice job in Edmonton. And shockingly, Norm McDavid got a point, which
Norm McDavid. Is it what you call him?
Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and Edmonton's record.
Neither of them got points, right?
Neither of them did, no. And their record's like 6-47 and I don't know 5-10 or something like that. Like they just don't win when those guys don't get points. And they got point the other night. And Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, Puliarvi, these guys, and Nugent Hopkins is a great player. So Edmonton looks good. A lot of pace with that team. I don't know what you thought of it all, but
which has been the problem with Edmonton for quite a while. If McDavid and Draisaitl aren't on the ice, it just falls back down to AHL, right? And now these guys are actually putting in the effort. So yeah, that's I'm not an Edmonton fan. I can say I like that team's really good. Am I an Edmonton fan? I'm just like I'm not a fan of a team that gets 8 first round picks, like number 1 picks in in a decade and can't pull it off immediately, so but that team is good. That team is really like they're all together, and with Koskinen playing like he did, it was just a different level, I thought. So I don't know. On the other side, Pacioretty, he must have had 24 shots on Koskinen. I would say maybe 6 of them hit the net. It was that's not regular for an NHL guy to have that many shots, is it? Go ahead.
Just muting you out there for a second. I was like, okay, no. Max Pacioretty shoots the puck a ton, and when Eichel comes to town, which gets healthy, he's already here. So when he gets healthy, he plays with Stone. Expect him to get even more shots. So he takes a ton of shots. I mean, Koskinen made some great saves on him the other night. I don't want to get on him for that because I think you and I must have said to each other the other night at least 5 or 10 times, why doesn't other guys shoot the puck? What I see in the NHL is that, defensemen and other forwards are so good at getting in the lanes now. Guys end up hanging on to the puck, and they don't direct it at the net. That's not a problem with Max Pacioretty. He gets it going towards the net early and often, and so I can't fault him there. But yeah, he gets a lot of shots. They need him to score. They need him to score. That's the bottom line here.
The other thing that I noticed was that stood out to me with Vegas's problem. When they shot the puck, they went to the same area every time. They never went low. They always went high shoulder, glove shoulder, and it was. I was like, that's you got to get that imagination back. And I don't know if Vegas has kind of stumbled into robotic kind of play. There was nothing where you went, oh, that was, even just on a breakout or on a power play or on anything. There was nothing that blew your mind away. They're a great team. They're absolutely a great team, but nothing was too out of the. I don't know. Sorry, I just dropped it. Out of whatever they've practiced.
I thought you were hammering on the desk there, looking for a word, I guess. But you
just
dropped something.
I was looking, but I couldn't.
Did you pretend you dropped something, or you were just getting frustrated because you couldn't come up with a word?
I just threw a Rubik's cube across the room. Tried to have it help me find a word. Oh my God!
Yeah, exactly. I think what looking at Edmonton and in Vegas, it was a really fast game. Edmonton took advantage of some breakdowns by
Basket.
Vegas the other night, and the goaltender was fantastic. And before we leave the Pacific, let's touch on Calgary really quick. Calgary has run out to be one of the top 3 teams in the league so far this year. Watched them play Pittsburgh again last night. They shut it down, and Calgary's kind of a little bit of a different breed of a team in the Pacific. A lot of the teams in the Pacific will go toe to toe with you up and down the ice all night. They love to just get out and run and skate on you. Calgary's not that team. They want to lock it down. They want to be tight checking. And so far, it's bode really well for them because their goaltending's been phenomenal, and their goals against has to be some of the best in the league. So it's going to be really interesting. You would assume right now that your top 3, or at least would think that Vegas, not in that order. I think Calgary could end up winning the division, but Vegas, Edmonton, Calgary, you would think. Don't sleep on Anaheim or LA, that's for sure. Seattle's starting to get some wins, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be really interesting. Calgary comes through Vegas here next week. It's going to be really interesting when Calgary gets to playoff time and these other teams play the way that they've been playing. They've kind of been playing playoff hockey since the start of the year. That's the way Darryl has it, and they look really good. So, I mean, we can move out of the Pacific, but
before we move out of the Pacific, I want to say that that's what the head of the snake has to have a direction it's going, and it really, Darryl has a direction he's going with that team, and they've never had a real head on the tip of that snake where Calgary's just been all over the place and like doing their own thing. I don't think Vegas is like that. I think Edmonton has come to that too, but I think the problem with Vegas right now is just like injuries and people slipping in and out of the lineup, and you're not having your best players, and that Vancouver's got no head. It's just like they're just running around like they're. I don't even think they have a tail. I think it's just the middle of a body just sitting in the middle of the road. Let's stay in the Pacific. Let's go up to San Jose, and Evander Kane cleared waivers, so now he's with the Barracuda. He is. Do you think Evander Kane ever plays in the NHL again?
I do think he does.
I would have said he's gone to Russia.
Yeah, there's a chance that they'll throw a lot of money at him, go play in Russia. But I think he plays in the NHL again. I think what happens is teams wait to see what he does, or maybe they don't down in San Jose. San Jose Barracuda, they play in the same rink. But I think Evander Kane's back in the league. Boy, oh boy, if you look at Evander Kane, the hockey player, there's a lot to really like there. The question is Evander Kane, the person, and whether or not, he can just get his life kind of on the straight and narrow and just be a good citizen. I don't know if the word's good citizen, but definitely a good teammate and a guy that just comes to the rink. It isn't a distraction. This stuff's not just going to wash away overnight, right? So, we want like we get on our phone, we want answers in seconds. We're a society of convenience now. We need to know
instant gratification.
This isn't a 2-day, 3-day, week, month thing. This is something this guy's going to have to work on for the rest of his career. I think he will play in the NHL again. I think he can really help somebody, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that's kind of in the back of the pickup truck that needs to be unpacked first. And
I just think a lot of guys have lost their careers over less. So I don't understand. I think he's been given a lot of chances. I think the door has been opened up many times, saying, "Yeah, come on in, sit down, don't take anything." Oh, he took something. So I don't know. I think he's going to Russia is what I think. I think teams have seen that he creates some sort of stink in the dressing room that creates problems. I think San Jose playing as well as they are this year really shines a light on, well, what does that guy do? That because nothing's changed in San Jose. They haven't gotten anybody better in San Jose. So
right. Right. Well, I mean, here's a comparison for people out there. Tony DeAngelo, remember he got bought out by the Rangers last year, and he
Mm-hmm.
went off and he took a year on the side of the road in the rest area. He came back, and I believe he signed a 1-year deal. He's in Carolina. I watched him play here a couple weeks ago. He's a good player. He's on their power play, and he's just straighten up and fly right, and that is what he's done. And Carolina is showing that they have a strong enough group in their dressing room and in their organization to be able to bring a player that maybe was a little bit of a lightning rod in.
Mm-hmm.
So Tony DeAngelo is a guy that had all kinds of issues. He's back playing the NHL. You don't hear anything about him off the ice. He's been a very productive player on the ice. So I do believe someone will give Evander Kane that opportunity. And when you watch him play and he just plays, man, this guy is something else. But again, we got to get through all the stuff in the back of the pickup here first. And I think part of it is giving this guy an opportunity to see if he can get his life back together, and maybe some time somewhere else, American League, will help.
I'm gonna put this out there. I know you hate controversy, but I'm gonna put it out there. Who would you rather have? You have to pick one of these. They have to be on your team. Lemieux from Los Angeles or Kane from San Jose. Which player do you take?
Well, that's a really interesting question, Lord Bagg.
I'm here.
I know you're there. Okay, so
I know
what are we in 20 minutes in? And we've talked about three things, but
important.
if you're going to give me the hockey player, I'm going to take Evander Kane all day long. It's not like I don't like Brendan Lemieux as a player.
You get to pick. You get to pick.
No.
Both
Hang on a second.
right
You
now.
asked me a question. I'm going to give you my answer.
Oh,
so
God.
If you're asking me about a hockey player, I'm going to take Evander Kane. Lemieux has never caused really any issues off the ice. His on the ice tactics are very sketchy, right? I mean, if he went and bit Brady Tkachuk in the hand the other night, not once but twice, there's no room in the game for that. That's got to be 20-game suspension. So right. I don't like that part of the player. But you got to remember, most of what Evander Kane's problems have been brought from off the ice into the dressing room, whereas Lemieux's problems are on the ice brought back into the dressing room. You don't hear anything about him off the ice. So if you give me a hockey player, I'm going to take Evander Kane.
All right.
You know what? Yeah.
Skater.
Here's the problem. You can't have the problem with both those guys is they go off the grid and they do their own thing. And hockey being the ultimate team sport, that just doesn't work. It's you just can't have someone on their own page. It doesn't mean you can't be your own person. You just can't be on your own page when you're trying to win. And LA's trying to change things around. Lemieux could be a big part of what they're doing there because he brings an element of grit, toughness, and he can play. But then he goes and does stuff like he did the other night. And, but between the two hockey players, when they're both on the ice, I think Evander Kane's a better hockey player. That's not to say Brendan Lemieux's not. Just I think Kane gives you a bit more upside.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Well, let's get out of the Pacific Division without saying that Vancouver is a tire fire. Let's head off out east. Do you want to start off in the big news in Montreal? Bergevin released. Gorton hired as president. And meanwhile, they run with nobody as general manager. What always interests me is when these teams are able to run without a general manager for a couple weeks. You're just like, maybe it's not that important of a job.
Yeah, the issue in Montreal is they're last place anyway. So I mean, they're in the same division as Buffalo, I guess. So, but Buffalo, I think, is probably still in front of them.
Absolutely.
Here, this to me goes back to Bergevin was there almost 10 years. He was almost there. I think they hired him in 2012. So the team really outperformed where it was. We talked about Vancouver the other day. I said the same thing in Vancouver. Vancouver got in front of itself when it had success in the playoffs a couple of years ago. They thought they were closer than they were, and now it's just not good there. Montreal is another team that went on a run and played some great hockey last year, but I think that part of the change in Montreal isn't so much some of their players, because some of their players are very good. They've had injuries too. Whether it was Price that was hurt, then he went into the player assistance program, their goaltender, or Shea Weber, who looks like he's had to retire, possibly. Those are massive losses, okay? Those guys are tough to come by. You just don't find players like that. But to me, Mr. Lord Bagg, it goes back to the draft this year where they drafted the young defenseman that had been in trouble and had actually asked not to be drafted. You can ask not to be drafted, but obviously they can still draft you. Montreal went and drafted him, and then they had to get up there and defend it. And this guy, young guy, it said, "Hey, listen, I got to go and work on my own life for a while after some of the things that had transpired in his world." So I think the owner came back in and said, "You know what? Even starting there, I made a mistake. I should have handled that a lot differently. I should have made sure we didn't draft this kid." They ended up drafting him, and then that was like, the Jenga. They pulled the wrong piece out, and it all fell down. And he finally thinks he's got to fix it. The issue in Montreal is, and it's not an issue, because the biggest part of their press is francophone. It's French. Is you have to get a bilingual general manager, just like you basically need a bilingual coach. Jeff Gorton, as far as I know, is just speaks English. He doesn't speak French. I'm sure he's going to learn.
What a loser.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's the deal in Montreal. That you look for them to get a bilingual general manager. You basically you have to have one there, and I think the owner's already come out and said yes. We'll have someone that can speak to our French fans and our English-speaking fans.
That's a lot of people don't know that in the American markets, that in Quebec you have to have somebody that speaks French in front of your team. They will not accept it. In Montreal the other day, Air Canada is based out of Montreal. The guy that's been running Air Canada has been there for about 10 years, and he cannot speak French, and people are losing their mind. They want, oh my goodness, stop. So you have to have that there, and people, which is fine. I think they should draft nothing but French players. I think they should do nothing but Quebec players and see how it goes, because I think that might be a really strong team if they just went French.
Well, they I mean, when they do bring a lot of kids back from Quebec and they play very well for them, it's just the horse is out of the barn in Montreal this year, and they're going to burn it down. I think they're going to look for some big trades there as the year goes on.
Bergevin, to me, didn't seem like he was coming back. So maybe it should have been he left there. He should have left at the beginning of the year. When you got that foot halfway out the door, you don't do your best work, right? You're like, I just take this job and shove it. That kind of, and not that saying that was his attitude, but he was leaving. There was no way he was coming back next year.
Yeah, he was on the last year of his contract, so he did I mean, really, he's brought in a lot of really good players there. He was the guy who helped put that architect together. He was the architect of getting them to the finals last year. And whatever way, they don't ask how, they just ask how many they got there. And now all of a sudden, the team's gone off a cliff this year. The owner stepped in, and they're going to go another direction. So
I'm sure he needs a little bit of a rest mentally after being in the hotbed of hockey in Montreal with no other sport being looked at and just being under that microscope the whole time. But I would like to see him get another job in someplace, that's struggling a little bit. I'm not saying Vancouver, because I think Vancouver is basically the English version of Jesus Christ. Vancouver is basically the English version of Montreal, even though they don't have the historical wins that Montreal has. It's people breathe and eat the Canucks there. So anything. Let's say we got 2 minutes left. Let's try to get this done in 3 minutes. Anything else we want to bring up on this one?
Well, a couple things we want to talk about is the Rangers keep on finding ways to win, which is really impressive. Our friend Gerard Gallant doing a great job there. And then we got Spuddy, yeah. because he's from Prince Edward Island, right? So
He's a
all the
potato.
potatoes are from. And then I keep on one, like every week we seem to talk about him, but Ovechkin. I mean, he got a hat trick the other night. The guy just keeps going on and on and on. He's like
Do
he's
what
like
you
the
love.
$6 million man, except he's making
Yeah.
more than 6 million, right? So it's very impressive what he's doing. Um, and then we talked about the Islanders last week. They went into COVID protocol this week. They had to play some games where had 6, 7 guys out of the lineup. They finally
Mhm.
gave them a break, and I think they're back tonight, which we're taping this on a Tuesday, which is November 30th. So, but leaving on the upside, Ovi's just been great, and Florida keeps doing their thing, and there's a lot of great stories out there. But Ovechkin to me has got to be one of the top ones of the year so far.
I've seen 2 games in the last 2 weeks, and I really enjoyed the Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Edmonton game. Vancouver was kind of a time suck, but get out and go to the games. The games are just amazing. There are seats available in all these rinks, so give yourself a check and go see the games. Is what I'd like to mention. There's not. I know people are nervous still, but you be smart. You wear your mask. You can take your mask off when you sit down, but you can also just wear your mask the whole time. But it's just being out and being around people, and that energy is it's medicine. So give yourself a shot. Give yourself a chance. Be smart and have a good time. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, yeah, that was.
We're talking about good hockey, but I'm talking about going out and seeing things.
You just went Hershey there. You just gave us a pep talk.
I
I
know I
felt
did.
good. I was like, yeah, feel good about yourself. Get out there, spend your
Yeah,
money.
yeah. Go for a walk. Good time. Yeah, spend your money.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, now's the time to go down and watch these teams play. The hockey's getting better. The games are getting faster, and we have some really interesting races starting to pick up. And I guess, do you want me to go with my shout outs now, or because
Well, I want to talk about one more thing about the game that we've
okay.
seen. The guy that was on that played for Vancouver. That why am I blanking on his name? I'm such a that's playing on the McDavid line. That was playing for Vancouver. Is missing a teeth. Why?
Cassian.
Cassian. There you go. He did not look out of place on that line.
No, well, Zach Cassian was drafted, I believe, in the first round by the Buffalo Sabres years ago. Then he was traded to Vancouver for Cody Hodgson. Are you with me still? That was if this is true, it's impressive, but I think it is. So Cassian 6'3", tough as nails, and can skate, right-handed shot. People don't realize how good a skater he is, and really how good a player he is. You watch him; I'd leave him there. I would have played him with the Sedins in Vancouver when he came in. I know he's young. I know he was a little bit of a all over the road. He was a bit of a dumpster fire here and there, but
Off
the
ice.
kid, yeah. But you know what? He could have. The Sedins got chased around, and they were just fabulous players. No one's going near McDavid with him on his wing, and even with him on the ice, he's a deterrent, or on the bench. But the guy can play, and he made some phenomenal plays the other night, and he can skate. So yeah, he's really good. And of course, the building really got hopping as the game went on, and it seems that Edmonton plays really well in Vegas. And of course, the superstars were out. They didn't get any points, but they were definitely noticeable.
No, and the big thing is he can skate. He can keep up with the game. He's a big boy. He's thick. These players right now are built almost like swimmers. I say this all the time. They're lanky. They're a different look, but he's kind of got that old school build to him. But he keeps up. He doesn't fall behind. Like when you watch Lucic, he falls behind. He shows up and scores because the game. Everybody thinks the play's over, and he kind of strolls in. What's in the net? Woo! But he's in it. Like he's with them the whole time. So very impressive. Very impressive. And I did not want to say good things about Cassian, but I am saying good things. All right.
Okay. So my shout out this week's going to go to, I'm going to change it up. I don't know if I've ever had a shout out for a goaltender. So I'll have to shout out to 3 of them, because 2 of them, one of them, they're good friends. One of them I grew up with. So I'll give a shout out to our boy Flats up in Winnipeg, their goalie coach up there. He's got they're in a little bit of a dry spell in Winnipeg right now, but the keepers are playing well. Our boy Hershey, who we did a thing for some hospitals yesterday for our friends at Win Win Entertainment. So a shout out to Hershey and Win Win Entertainment, which brings me around to Jake Ottinger, the goalkeeper of 4 goalkeepers in Dallas. Last week, he ended up, he beat Colorado, he beat Edmonton, and he beat St. Louis. And they had to send him down at the start of the year because he was the only goalie that could clear waivers. So good for him and good for Dallas to get back going again because we were concerned about them. They look like a team that is going to trend as we head into the holiday season, New Year, in the right direction. And they're back doing their thing again. So all our goalie friends, Flats, Jake Ottinger, and Hershey, shout out to you guys.
Nice. I am going to give a shout out to ex-AHL and NHL referees and linesmen that play beer league hockey. Somebody was complaining about them the other day that they play in a league and there's some ex-linesmen in there, and their wind is so good because they skate the whole game. They never change. So I'm just taking all the ice time. Linesmen that now play beer league hockey. So good for them. I love it. Guys complaining. Oh, I paid for my ice too. And those guys are taking all the ice. Blah, blah, blah. So shout out to linesmen. Without them in the game, it would just be referees.
Love to all.
Love to all. Well, that was another episode of Enjoying Orange Slices. What fun it was. Make sure you like, rate, and review. Share it with your friends. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, where you get updates from the boys. And just to let you know, Jeff, his security code for his alarm at home is